Hi everyone, Gilda here. Thank you for joining our Salesforce Digital Marketing Partner Coffee Chats. It's that time of year again, and we are kicking off our amazing Digital Marketing Month with a series on one of my favorite social media platform, LinkedIn Live. We will be discussing all things digital marketing with our partners. And what a great time to be talking about all things digital, given that our partner marketing organization launched our digital marketing program this past April. The digital marketing program helps our partners build their digital marketing skills. They help them also market faster and, most importantly, align to Salesforce key themes to reach customers and, most importantly, drive demand. With that, the partners we have featured here today are fully immersed in all things digital, and they are reaching their customers in new ways. So we are excited to dive into our two fantastic Salesforce consulting and ISV partners, Andrea Terrell and Perry Palm, to discuss best practices in my favorite topic, email marketing. So before we get started, a little bit about our speakers. The amazing Andrea Terrell is the CEO and founder of Sercante, a marketing and sales consulting and ISV company with several apps on the App Exchange. Next, we have my new best friend, Perry Palm. He is CEO of Phrasee, an AI-powered SaaS platform that revolutionizes customer experiences. Perry has been working with leading brands to optimize marketing results for over 15 years. So I'm really, really excited to have both of them join us today. First of all, thank you both for coming. Oh my God, Perry, I'm so sorry. It's Mom.
That's fine. You know what? Growing up, I used to get called Harry Palms by the bullies in school. So,
But you know
I'm
what? If you did a TikTok, because you spoke about that yesterday, I think that would help.
a TikTok with my Harry Palms. I think I might get banned. So let's skip that maybe.
First of all, thank you all both for coming. Sorry again about your name. Both of you have been in the email marketing space for quite a long time. So I want to start with a fun question. And I also want the audience to join in. Email is one word only. So when I say email is, Perry, what does that mean to you? And Andrea, email is one word only. What comes to mind?
One word is tough, and I'd love to see in the comments what how some folks would fill in the blank. But if I had to pick one word, and this is sort of a compound one, I would say email is a workhorse.
I love that. Email is a workhorse. I wonder if some of the other comments have said that as well. Perry, what do you think? Email is.
Let me insert my tongue in my cheek just for a second and say the opposite of what I think is true. This will be a fun game. Let's say email is ... dead.
Really?
Look,
why do you
people
say
have been
that?
saying
You
this.
live and breathe email.
People have been saying this for years and years. And if I had a nickel for every time someone said that, I'd probably have like, I don't know, $20, which is a lot of money. But the thing is, like, everybody has said for years that email's dead. Everything's going to kill email. It was going to be like RSS back in the day. Then it was blogs. Then it was Facebook. Then it was Slack. Lately, it's like, oh, iOS is going to kill email. And guess what? Still standing, still fighting. So, pro tip for the viewers out there, if you ever see someone saying email is dead, tell them to have a Kit Kat bar, take a long break, and go for a walk.
So email is not dead.
Indeed. You see what I did there?
Love it. I absolutely love it. Email is a workhorse and it is not dead. I hope our audiences heard that, and I love that. That's right. Email is everything. See, I love that. Thank you, Marima. I think it's Marima, but thank you so very much. I really appreciate that. Email is everything. So now I need a shirt that says that. So we're going to dive into our questions. I hope you both are ready. I have some really good ones for you. You guys ready for this?
Ready. I'm
All right.
excited to see what you come up with.
So true or false, email marketing is the second most effective source of sales and marketing leads. Would love to get your thoughts on that.
I'm gonna go with true. I'm curious to know what the first most effective source of leads is. But yeah, I mean, email is kind of echoing what Perry said at the beginning. Email is far from dead. I think people like to rag on it sometimes because it's not like the new sexy shiny object of the digital marketing world. But it's effective. It's the cornerstone of almost every B2B marketing strategy that our customers execute, and one of the best ways of reliably getting in front of your customers at a low cost.
Perry, what do you think? Is email the second most effective source of sales and marketing leads?
I think that's true. But you know what I think the first most is? I think the first most is really good email.
Ooh, I
Where
love it.
you can like super easily, like it's not that hard to like load up a list of 1 million people and click a button and like send a crappy message out to 1 million people and pat yourself on the back for a job well done. And like you'll probably make some money doing that. But the thing is, right, your first party data is the biggest marketing asset your company will ever have. You spent millions of dollars building up that first party data. So by having really good email campaigns, it can actually be a marketer's best friend. And your best friend doesn't always need to be the coolest kid at the party. Your best friend needs to be the person who will hold your hair when you're barfing in the toilet.
You know, I love that comparison because I do believe that email is your best friend. It's not dead, but it's definitely helping you along the way. Correct? Is that what I'm hearing from both of you?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, like look, it's super important to like it doesn't need to be a zero sum game. It doesn't need to be a competition going email is best, social's best, SEO is best. That's a argument to have at the pub. First of all, you shouldn't do that. There's way more interesting things to argue about at the pub. But it's like, it's one of the important things in your tool chest, and you should use it wisely. You should use it very well. Is it the most important, the least important? It doesn't matter. What matters is that it works as part of your marketing mix.
I completely agree. I remember when I was first learning all about email marketing, like 15 plus years ago, which definitely shows my age. Somebody said, treat email like you would treat somebody, like you said, Perry, at a bar, right? That's your subject line. Would you say, hi, I'm free, come see me now? No, right? You would tailor, you would custom the subject line. Would you go out on a first date with half the top is dressed and then the bottom you have your jammies? No. So when it comes to email and reviewing email before he goes out, you will look at it from top to bottom. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. The way you look at email is also the first impression you would make when you're meeting somebody at a bar or a local restaurant or just in general, somebody for the first time.
I can promise you this, if we ever go out on a date, which we won't, my wife would get very mad, but if we did, you would be very disappointed.
Oh my God. But I hope not. Which brings me to my second question. If we did go out on a date and it was successful, could you please walk me through your email building journey? Like, what does that journey look like to the both of you?
I can chime in on that one. So I think where I see a lot of marketers falling down is thinking about the email, getting the email out the door is the end goal. And so they focus a lot on designing something that looks kind of bright, shiny, and new, hitting the send button, and then kind of walking away from it. But the way that I like to think about like creating a message that I'm putting in front of my audience, the valuable list that Perry kind of touched on, the assets that you've built over time, all the people that you can contact, is thinking about what you want them to do with the information that you're putting in front of them. So what's the end in mind goal? What's the call to action? What's the measure of success?
Yeah.
And then kind of working backwards from there. So if your call to action is getting them to sign up for a webinar or just making them aware of a change that's coming down the pike, what content needs to be part of that email to support it? So to your point, Gilda, subject line, body content, hero image, kind of how does that all support the call to action that you're trying to drive them to?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, it's really important to think about philosophically what email actually is, and we can give it all sorts of, you know, fancy words and say that it's doing this and it's doing that and blah blah blah. But ultimately, it's advertising, right? It's a form of, you know, direct marketing, advertising. Call it what you want to call it. So there's three things that people have been talking about for a long time. It's the right message, the right person at the right time. The right person, well, this is effectively, I wouldn't say it's a solved problem, but it's a well-researched problem with, you know, segmentation strategies, personalization strategies, things like that. That's a well-researched problem. And the right time, that's what you do with APIs and triggers. So you can manage all of that stuff. The thing that most people don't focus on, which they should, is the right message. Because you can so easily log in to, you know, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and you can like click a single button and send 1 million messages to 1 million people. But what if that message sucks? If that message sucks, it's all a waste of time. And yet the thing is, most people leave the message until the last minute, and that's wrong.
Can I ask you a question? And this might be going off topic. Why is it that we always overlook that point, right? Why are we overlooking the right message? Why do you think marketers aren't personalizing that email message more so that it is the right message to the right person at the right time?
Well, because not enough people are using Phrasee currently, but notwithstanding the obvious sales pitch that I could make currently, there's two things going on here. Number one, in the last 15 years, marketing in general has become the domain of spreadsheet wonks. And people manage marketing campaigns through spreadsheets, and they try to optimize on a channel-to-channel basis. And they veered vastly towards the science side of the marketing spectrum and forgotten about the art side. And as we've gone down this road, we're talking about optimization strategies and maximizing your cost per click and all this stuff. And you forget that email is advertising. It's not a science. There is a science to it, and you can use advanced technology to do it. But there is a certain element of creativity which is needed. But secondly, and the real reason is because people hate writing for emails. Because the first thing that everybody has opinions about, from the CEO to the janitor, every single person goes, well, here's what I think you should do. And it just becomes a really boring, stressful debate with no clear right answer. And that's why, you know, using technology to solve that problem is a good thing, blah, 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 www.phrasee.co, and so on and so forth.
Andrea, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a super interesting question, kind of why people put less time and attention into the message itself. And I actually think it partly goes back to a lot of marketing historically being rewarded for activity versus outcomes. So in the past, it was really hard to measure marketing's impact on revenue. So things like number of emails sent, number of emails opened, click-through rate, those were kind of the metrics that carried the day. And so it was all about activity and not necessarily like, why are we doing this? And when you think about messaging and like the blood, sweat, and tears that go into crafting a really well-formed message that drive people to your call to action, I think that's a very like Simon Sinek start with why type of thing, where like you need to be really clear on what you're trying to accomplish and the outcome that you're trying to drive. And marketing hasn't always been aligned with that worldview historically.
So now you've actually mentioned metrics quite a bit. And in the days of email marketing, we always capture open rates, click-through rates, because that's what we know about email marketing, open rates, click-through rates. You know, would you guys say that that is the right metrics for us? Like, how old is email, right? How old is email? Because should those still be the same metrics that marketers are still capturing, back to Perry's comments, in order to send the right message? Open rates, click-through rates. Like, what other metrics do you guys account for measuring success?
Yeah, I would go back again to the, like, what is the secondary thing that you're looking to drive with email? Like, for somebody who does interact with your message what action do you want them to take next, and do they end up doing that? Email is a little bit tricky when it comes to marketing attribution, because I mean, usually you're sending them dozens of emails along the buyer's journey, and so trying to like track revenue back to a specific email gets a little hand wavy unless you're in a B2C environment where there's a shorter purchase cycle. But things like open rate and click-through rate are becoming less reliable across the board. Some of the changes that Apple rolled out recently with how their users can opt in and out of like open rate tracking, that's going to wreak havoc on all historical reporting, all the way that we've kind of thought about email marketing success metrics in the past. So I really do think it's time for us to level up, move beyond that, and think about kind of what is that next step that we're trying to get them to take.
Yeah, like here's the thing. There's no one metric which is perfect. You know, open rates can be spoofed, and Apple's gonna, create noise in that metric. And Apple's not gonna make it a useless metric. It'll just make it a noisier metric, and any smart scientist knows how to deal with that. Click rates are not foolproof. You know, there's lots of bots that go through and click multiple times and blah blah blah. Unsubscribes, I mean, they're so rare, they're not that useful. Conversions are extremely rare, so it's really hard to model surrounding them. But the way that you can deal with this is, like, don't make it complicated, right? What you want to do, you know, the purpose of emails, first of all, is to get noticed, and you can use open rate even after these iOS changes as a proxy for how much it's getting noticed. Your click-through rate, you want to get more people onto your site, so the click-through rate matters too. And once they're on site, you want to make sure that they go and buy something. So you should never focus on just one metric in isolation, because then you're going to be like gaming the system and have to deal with all sorts of unintended consequences. What you want to do is like consider all of them in an ensemble, and try to drive all of them up in a reasonable fashion without having any one of them unnaturally spike. There's lots of scientific research around baskets, ensemble models, things like that. So like there's many ways of dealing with this.
But are you both still saying that the top two, I think, or three, open rate, click-through rate, right, deliverability, they're still important, right, when it comes to the email marketing space? But are you both saying that we should also look beyond just those three?
Well, yeah. So they absolutely still matter, and you should still focus on them, and you should still optimize towards them. And people who tell you that you shouldn't don't understand statistics, so I'd probably be wary about taking too much advice from them. The whole challenge about like trying to measure effectiveness down funnel too far is that you start injecting many more variables, and so the actual causal noise in your end result becomes very hard to actually model around. It's basically like saying if a guy drank a milkshake at breakfast, he's got a higher probability of like hitting a home run. You know, it doesn't make sense. Like maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But there's so many other myriad factors which have an impact on when he steps up to the plate. So the long and short of it is that we've got a number of imperfect stats. Therefore, you shouldn't rely upon any one of them. You should look at all of them and make your judgments according to the perceived weight you ascribe to each of those metrics.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think one of the variants that also is important when it comes to email marketing is definitely who you're sending the email to, right? So that contact list comes into play. So before you send the email, obviously you're sending to somebody, right? You're not sending to the ear, you're not sending to the wall. Can you guys share best practices on, on strategies on how do you build that list? Because beyond just getting the right content, the right message, and sending that at the right time, but the most important factor is who are you sending that email to? So what are the strategies? What are the best practices you could share to our audience?
Perry, you want to take that one first? I feel like I've been jumping in first on all these.
Sure. So the question was about like how you can maintain a good list to send stuff to. I'm going to be honest. I'm not a domain expert in that. I mean, just from core experience at Phrasey, we've got a weekly newsletter that we've been sending out for over 5 years on Thursdays, and it's a hugely popular thing. We've got a few 100,000 people subscribe to it. Like, it's absolutely loved. And all we do in it is we like talk about a little bit of the news in the market in the last week, and then tell a bunch of dumb jokes. And so, like, I think it's really easy to like overthink stuff with email, and like your list is never going to be perfect. There's always going to be noise on it and stuff. But as long as you create content that's compelling, that people want to read, that they find interesting, that they find engaging, then I'd worry less about like the quality of the list itself and focus more on the quality of the content. You can't really control who's on your list. You can jettison people, but you can't force people to sign up to your list. So like, just make really good content, and if you build it, they will come. It's another baseball reference for Alan Thomas Payne out there. How you like that, bud?
I love that. If you build it, they will come. And my other favorite line is people buy from people. Right. So Andrea, I didn't know if you had anything else to add.
Yeah, I guess going back to our pub analogy that we touched on a little bit earlier. I
Don't
feel
you
like
love the pub analogies? I am now, because of Perry, going to forever use pub analogies.
they're great. They're really great. They're a great analogy for a lot of things in life. But I mean, if you're trying to get an awesome group together at a pub, like there's kind of two elements to that. Like, you need to get them to come in the door, and then you need to make it really fun so that they stay there. So kind of inviting them in, I would say looking for content, not salesy offers to incorporate into your marketing strategy. So newsletter signups, webinar signups, anything you can do to share content and give them a good reason to join your list in the first place, I think is a big one. And then taking good care of that list once you have that name added to your database. So sending them things that they actually care about, going back to that right message, right person, right time thing. Being very diligent about segmenting your list so that people are genuinely getting things that matter to them. I think those are kind of the two things that we need to work on as marketers.
And I love that comment, because I think this is where a lot of marketers struggle, is just overall data management of their list, right? It's, I've built this list, but how often do you go back to clean up this list to ensure that, people want to hear from you, right? Especially if, back to Perry's original comment, if it's not good content, like, why should I care? So, right, I think that's another important thing for whoever's joining us to hear. But it's really about going back to that list and maintaining some sort of list hygiene on your data is also important. Perry, any thoughts on?
I'm not gonna lie.
We love your analogies. I want you to keep it up, Perry.
Oh, thanks. Well,
analogies earned a newsletter. I'm encouraging everybody to sign up to Phrasey newsletters, because I know I am.
We'll do it.
Yeah, I want to hear some of these jokes that you mentioned. So
they're
you
so
coached
dumb.
me.
We did one, I think it was 3 years ago, and the entire theme was making poop jokes. It's like the most infantile stuff, and we thought of like so many puns about poop. It was awesome. Like, that was the pinnacle of my entire career. I've always wanted to do that. But look, like, back to your question about data management, right? I'm not gonna lie, I've been doing like email marketing. So I started brand side, then I went tech side, and then I started Phrasey for 15 years or something, right? And there's no single topic that I find more boring and soul destroying than deliverability. I just find it, and I realize that it's very important, but I just personally find it super boring. And so I take a broad view on it. If you're sending out good content, and as long as you let people unsubscribe if they want to unsub, then you're probably fine. And I know that there's probably people watching us right now who are going to get all riled up and go, but you haven't thought about the engagement of the Gmail email client and the promotions tab and the this and that and the other. And you know what? I'm sure you guys are great at parties, and you know much more about this than me. But from a pragmatic standpoint, that's my belief, and I'm standing by it.
I love it. I think we should definitely all stand by, what we believe in. So that was all incredibly informative. I want to thank you both for coming on and speaking about email marketing best practices. Perry, I definitely owe you, I don't know if coffee or tea, because I screwed up your last name and I want to apologize for that. So I definitely owe you coffee. So again, thank you both for coming on and speaking all about email marketing best practices. I know I definitely learned a lot. And going forward, for anybody that's joining that knows me, when I use the pub jokes, you know who it's from. It's from Perry Pong from Phrasee.
Right on. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This has been fun.
So thank you for joining our first coffee chat for Digital Marketing Month. This will be an ongoing series with the hostess with the mostest for the next 2 weeks on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So please stay on the lookout for additional links to hear from additional partner marketing digital experts. Until then, I encourage everyone to check out the Partner Marketing Center, where you can market faster and smarter to drive demand for your Salesforce business. The Partner Marketing Center has co-brandable email journeys that are ready to use and send right from your Salesforce instance. So I encourage everyone to please check out the Partner Marketing Center, where you will find some really good, valuable information. And once again, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you to Perry Malm. Thank you to Andrea Terrell from Sercante. I really enjoyed chatting with you guys today. And I encourage everyone to please follow Perry and please follow Andrea. They always have some insightful things that they're sharing. And please sign up for the Phrasee and Sercante newsletter, especially Phrasee newsletter, if you want to hear more jokes from Perry Malm. I know I will, starting today. Thank you both.